It's an active day here at your live, local, and award-winning Erie daily radio talk show. It's the Joel Natale Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here, and we love talking to our friend Brendan Mendoza. Brandon, you are the president and CEO of the Erie Regional Chamber and Growth Partnership, and I tell you what, there's been like one announcement after another coming across your desk, and I just want to welcome you. Thank you.
Thanks, Joel.
Don't you? I mean, don't you think like we're in a season of consequence with the chamber right now?
100%. I think overall the region has a lot of momentum, right? I think that's the kind of like the buzzword of the moment. But it's a fact. The region has a lot of momentum. We just joined the governor on Friday for a pretty big announcement of the state stepping up to help support that marketplace project on the Bayfront. One of a key number of projects in the region, in addition to several other CRIZ projects that have been announced recently as well. But even beyond, so what's going on in downtown in the city, there's a lot of just developments propping up. Obviously, you have the Gateway project over in Mill Creek. You have several projects, on in the east side of our region. You have several projects on the west side of our region. When you get to some of our rural areas, there's just a lot of pent-up demand for investment. I think it's finally starting to flow. I think folks have kind of realized that interest rates are not going that much lower, so let's
maybe this is the time to jump in. This is the time
to move and build. And then from a chamber perspective, it's exciting because some of these folks are our members, some of these folks are partners, some of these folks are peer organizations. But regardless, we get to be supportive of these projects, help some of them that need help, and then also to cheerlead for when they're successful. Right. It's a fun time to be a chamber when you're doing those, when you're doing those things. And then obviously we have some catalytic work that we're doing to make sure that those ventures are successful, like our airport, right? It's hard, very hard to have, a world-class economic region here without access to, air service.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I like how you said it, where you're where you can add value. You're trying to be a catalyst, and let's talk about the Fly Erie Fund and the impact that the chamber has made, because already now we're hearing rumors of, not rumors. We're hearing that additional flights on Breeze going down Florida, and I'm getting the sense that there's about to be new announcements of additional flights, maybe going out west finally or what have you. It's important that fund is there to kind of take the risk factor out of the airline situation, right? I mean,
yeah, and I would say, overall, the airline industry overall has gone through a series of systematic changes in which smaller regional airports are less emphasized. They've just realized that they can make a lot more money shipping folks through more of their mega hubs. So what a lot of regions have done, regions of our size, is systematically or strategically really develop these sort of funds to help subsidize the kind of make your case flights.
Okay.
And that's what the public can kind of think of for, this fund, and what it's doing is it's helping us make our case to the airlines. And so far, very early on, we are producing our Orlando flight and our Florida flights through Breeze are some of their best flights in any of their markets around the country.
Really?
So,
because they use the same size of plane,
Same size, yep.
So
some of the best numbers.
Wow.
So it's our make your case fund, if you will.
Right.
And then what that momentum does is when other airlines see that those numbers are being made, they're more confident. And obviously we have American, who's obviously expanded its capacity here 3 times a day, moving to a larger plane and so forth as well. And that make your case fund helps, with that, even though we're not funding any of those flights and whatnot. It just allows the economics of the airport to be better, so that they're, the enplanement costs overall are lowered the more flights that we have. And then, as you alluded
just so
to,
I'm clear, so you're saying that that the Fly Erie Fund is not reducing that enplanement cost for American? Because remember we were like in the 21s and we wanted to get like down to 9 or 7 or something.
Yeah. So hold up. Let me say this. The support of the more airplanes that enplane at our airport brings down the average enplanement cost overall.
No matter what, if there's money there or not, adding to it.
The Fly Erie Fund is helping by bringing more air service and bringing the average enplanement costs down.
Okay.
Right? So,
see, for some reason, I thought that there was a kitty that they were drawing from in order to get that.
For some of the breeze flights we do.
Okay, for the breeze.
Paying,
Gotcha.
That being said, as you alluded to, Chicago Air Service and Western Air Service in general, whether it's Chicago, Denver, Minneapolis, whatever, is a high, high value, high kind of objective of ours over this next year.
Okay.
We're going to aggressively, obviously in partnership, with, the airport authority, of course, and their board, and Derek, but we're going to strongly go after Western Air Service, and probably in the next number of months we'll have some sort of announcement on that strategy.
Yeah, people need to understand that when they announce something, it's usually, hey, 4 to 6 months from now, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
The airlines don't run and, hey, in a couple of weeks, we're going to change something.
No. There's lots of logistics and new flights
right.
and so forth, and making sure that they have the, the pilots lined up and planes lined up and all of that. But we are going to strategically be going after Western Air Service. Now, why everything else that we've done to this time is important is bringing down that enplanement cost, right? Getting to the point where we're at the better metrics of several carriers, and so forth. That's going to allow our application and our pitch for this Western service to be much more
competitive.
Yes,
yeah,
competitive. That's what I'm trying to say.
While we're on air service, though, again, you came from Pittsburgh. You know that area pretty well, right? So, again, we want folks to fly Erie first. That is a strong contention. But doesn't the upgrade of Pittsburgh International have a positive impact on the entire Western PA region? Don't you think?
Yes. So let me just say this in general. Western Pennsylvania is bettered by both Pittsburgh and Erie bringing world-class assets online. So, yes. Obviously was very intimately involved in that seeing how that airport turned itself around there. One of my past bosses at the Allegheny Conference or the Pittsburgh Chamber was a key board member, and not only the search process that brought that CEO in, but also we were a part of the advocacy coalition that supported the drilling at that airport that has allowed some of that investment to happen. And
Okay.
and that agreement that has allowed.
So there's some extraction going on at the airport that pays for some of this stuff.
So yeah, yeah,
That's wild. Yeah.
you know, it's a big part of how they've subsidized a lot of their flights and how they
Yeah.
are able to pay for a good amount of that.
Do you feel like the
that
chamber is, I mean, kind of having that regional view is important for the chamber to have, the Erie Chamber?
100%.
Okay.
And I'd say part of what, you know, we talked about the Fly Erie Fund, but,
Yeah.
you know, long term, we will be looking at ways to develop a recurring revenue source, you know, in partnership, you know, so with our airport, so that, you know, the fund in 10 years isn't needed, or in 5 years isn't needed, so that there is some sort of a mechanism to help fund what is a key asset. Now, we have the benefit of, you know, we don't need an airport of the size of Pittsburgh,
Right.
or Cleveland, you know, or Buffalo, but a good kind of equivalent region is the Lehigh Valley Airport, and how successful that airport is. Mind you, the Lehigh Valley Airport has Philly to its south, New Jersey with several
Newark,
internet, and Newark to its east, and obviously 2 mega airports in New York City as well. So, you know, the we're surrounded by other air service. Really, when you look at what they're doing, they're servicing what they have in their market, and that's what we need: world-class service for our market size, right?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Brandon Mendoza is with us here. He's from the Erie Regional Chamber. We're going to take a quick break. It is 4:18 Talk Erie. Brandon Mendoza is with us. It's from the Erie. He's from the Erie Chamber and Growth Partner, Erie Regional Chamber and Growth Partnership here. And again, they've been involved in a lot of the kind of the movement that's going on here. Brandon, I want you to weigh in on. Again, I'm sorry. My head is knee deep in the political season, so I'm talking to all of these electeds and wannabe electeds, right? And I don't call them wannabes, but they are literally running for election. And we're talking a lot about Erie's trajectory, and we're talking and the regional trajectory, right? And we've got some tough numbers. Our population is decreasing. Our poverty levels are insanely too high. Minority home ownership, horrible. That's like 3% or something like that. Does the chamber weigh in on some of those community and social things?
100%. I would say kind of, my approach to some of those community and social items is honing in and focusing in on the actual economic growth opportunities that are going to lift the most out of those situations. As I'm looking at our Erie economy, there's kind of like several things that I think are really holding us back from having a stronger growth trajectory. You talked about the demographics already. I would say I'm very worried about the future of our demographics with our tightening national immigration policy that's happening, and just knowing how much immigrants have been a big part of our stabilizing effect. I know we talked about the population decline, but really without immigrants, you're talking about a vast decline. Whereas, with immigrants in the region, it's basically been kind of slow. Yeah,
kind of percent or two.
Yeah. So I'm worried about that. I'm worried about, we really got to unleash the real estate investment play within the Erie region and Erie County. And I think I'm excited. The craze is a big part of how we do that, especially within the city's footprint. But even outside of the city, we need the Mill Creeks, we need the Harbor Creeks, we need the Summits, the Girards and so forth, to build as much market rate and affordable housing as they can in all categories: single family, multifamily, middle, the missing middle, the duplexes, all of that sort of stuff. We need to unleash that, and we need some of our folks that are investors to unleash their capital. And I know it's harder to say at a time where, you have interest rates a little bit elevated and so forth, but that's a key part of how we get the, growth happening. It's also a key part of how you get folks to feel that they are living the American dream in the Erie region.
Let me ask you about that. And again, as a business person, what I keep hearing is that Erie, you used to be able to build a house, 180 a square foot. That would be a nice house, 200 square foot. Now it's 350. It doesn't get built, and it doesn't pencil out unless you're building 2,000 square feet. That's a $700,000 house.
Yeah.
Who could afford that? I mean, our household wages haven't gone up that much. In fact, we're still below state and national averages on Erie County household wage. And so I don't understand how we connect those dots, how that math works.
I mean, here's what I would say. We have to actually take that math and look at what is actually driving those cost factors. There are certain things that we're not going to be able to affect, like some of the wage increases. That's everywhere. But places that have been very successful in rolling back those costs, the Austins, Nashville's, and a lot of cities in the Southwest, and some even out west right now are leading these policy changes. This is what I'm calling this YIMBY movement, this Yes in My Backyard movement, where they're looking at things like the horizontal infrastructure and subsidizing some of that. A lot of the development costs for new subdivisions for housing, or a lot of the upfront costs are in things like water and sewer.
Yeah, in the ground itself.
In the ground, and there's a lot of places where if you could streamline the permitting, provide some subsidy for that, and then provide other subsidy and incentives. So a lot of places that are enacting those policies where they're speeding up the timeline to build, so that if you're able to get something permitted and started and break ground and able to get that done instead of 14 months in 8 months, it's a lot of cost savings.
And we also don't really attract like those syndicated builders, right? Where basically they're going to come in and do 40 units, and they're able to liquidate all those labor costs over, just like you say, a quick build,
And a lot of it is you're not attracting them because we're not asking them to come, right?
You think that might be a chamber priority?
And we're currently working on our strategic plan and solving this missing middle housing shortage is definitely one of those items that's in the draft right now, in the final drafts now, because it is a key issue. I mean, whether you're talking about the Ryan Homes or the Mirandas or the the DR Hortons and so forth, the large home builders, we're not seeing them play very much in our market. In just an hour and a half to our south in the Cranberry and Wexford and Pittsburgh submarkets, they're playing very heavily there. But also, we need our local developers and landowners to we need to be providing resources to them. Some of them are really trying to solve, they have a plot of land, whether it be an old farm or just a family property, that they would love to kind of get into housing, and so forth. But they don't have the wherewithal, and or there's some barrier in their way. Right.
Do you think that and I got to go to break here in a second here, but do you think that at one point we can reclaim some of these abandoned, I'm thinking about Kmart West, where again, that's a private owner. There'd be a heavy lift to get that worked out. But can you imagine how many duplexes or townhomes you could create in a little mini neighborhood in some of these vast lands that have been walked away from, Brandon?
I mean, Joel, just imagine this, going to having a site like that and being able to tell your potential renters and owners that you will be essentially 1 mile away from Prescow and the beauty there, and then in the mix of everything else, and having 79. But yeah, that's a perfect example of, rather than waiting for private investment to come in and outline the plan, let's develop the plan to attract private investment.
Hold on. I'll hold that question because we got to go to the bottom of the hour news. Brandon Mendoza, he's with us here. He's the CEO of the Erie Regional Chamber and Growth Partnership. Fascinating conversation. Don't miss the rest of it here. Back after the news.
check it out.
Involved in the business of Erie, Pennsylvania. It is the Erie Regional Chamber and Growth Partnership. Brandon Mendoza is with us. He's the Chamber's CEO, and we're glad to have him here in our Kingdom Financial Group studio on Talk Erie. So Brandon, you've kind of unleashed this this concept of housing. It is, it really is one of our top issues in Erie. Mm-hmm. And what's so hard for an old guy like me is that we were always known as the affordable housing. It's less, it's cheaper to live in Erie than any place else. And for a lot of things, that is true. Right. But the issue is that we have this gap where we haven't built that middle income housing, and so you are ending up with a housing crisis at all levels, whether it's affordable, middle income, or sometimes even the folks that want to buy high income are like, there's not a whole lot to choose from, They're having to, buy custom homes,
So, Joel, I think this missing middle income housing and this gap is a key indicator of a region's future. Why? I'll tell you that. On the break, we were talking a little bit about housing, access to quality housing, and housing that makes you feel like you're living at your parents' level or above is a key part of what people believe is their American dream. Mm-hmm. So let's take a young professional. Let's say they're making anywhere between $75,000 to $120,000. Let's just say in numbers. If I take that person and I put them in a market in which they can't find a house, in their price range, or maybe they find a home in their price range, but that house they got to put $100,000 into to get it up to the level that they need it. Mm-hmm. Not even luxury, just up to the level, right? Remove the green carpets and the roof and making sure the chimney works and all of that. Versus that same person, I take them and I give them, their same 75 to 120, and I drop them into one of our Sunbelt city competitors. Let's keep it away from the weather. Let's like Columbus.
Yeah. Okay.
3 hours away. Still getting snow and cold just like we are. But they're able to move. They're able to take that 75 to 120 and buy that 375 or 350 or $290,000 condo or townhome or home. At the same price point, 75 to 120, that person feels wealthier and more, and it feels like they've achieved more of the American dream, making the same dollar amount.
Wow. So
that's why I really think that this is a key part, and sometimes it's a hard discussion to have because whether I get to travel in a lot of various political circles as a chamber guy. I could be at a conservative event or a liberal event one day, or even in the same day, and for different reasons. Middle income housing is really sometimes it just becomes an afterthought. There are folks that are very focused on affordable, and there are folks that are very focused on kind of like luxury housing and so forth, which, by the way, we're all for both.
Yeah, we want all of the above.
But we also feel like this missing middle is also a key. Solving that's a key part of the economic future of the region.
And we have heritage this way. When you think about when GE came and they built Lawrence Park, they had homes for their executives and they had homes for their workers. And they had home, there were different tiers, and you lived according to what you could afford in the tier that you were being paid. It made a lot of sense. And again, when you drill down to what what the chamber's kind of essentials are is economic development. So there's two major pillars, right? It's business attraction and business retention and expansion, right? And BR&E. You're like, I got to have the assets for the site selectors and for the locals that want to grow and say, hey, I could use 20 more guys or gals to come. 100%. And where are they going to live? Where are they going to play? What schools are they going to go to? Now you have to worry about all that stuff as a chamber.
100%. And I think, we just look an hour and 20 minutes to our south to Cranberry. Cranberry built their housing first and then started to get their economic development wins, because you had executives, lo and behold, that lived there and experienced, this is actually a good location. Maybe we can move some of our offices up here, like Westinghouse and so forth.
Wow.
It's sometimes economic development, it's chicken or egg. Sometimes we don't know which comes first. But I do know any place that I've gone to where they have had strong economic growth, you have seen plenty of new home starts.
Yeah.
So it's a key thing that I'm looking at, is trying to get more new home starts in this region. And obviously we'll be working with our realtors and all these other organizations. The other part of that, though, Joel, that we didn't touch on yet is, the Erie brand.
Okay.
So as we go through our strategic, as we're working on our strategic plan, the Erie brand is one thing I think it's been a through line in every session that we've had. One of the things I think, a lot of Erie folks have a lot of pride in Erie. A lot of pride, but also it's kind of like your brother or your sister, where it's like, I can crap on Erie, but you better not.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But one of the things we have to do is, as Erie, is we have to understand that there's a lot of folks that really don't even understand the beauty of this place. So a lot of folks that, the only kind of notion that they have of us is that it snows, that we were a manufacturing hub at some point, and then, some various items. They may know Prescal, but they may not attach it to our Erie brand. They may know, various, businesses, whether it be Splash Lagoon or other areas where they've come and they've visited and so forth. But connecting our brand overall to, as a region, leading in, connecting it with the lake, and from there, there's a lot of regions, folks will point to Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Buffalo and, they have sports teams. So,
right.
That it's an easy connector. And I'm like, well, we got a Great Lake that's named, that we share the same name with.
Right. Yes.
That's responsible for tons of quality of life and commerce in how many states? So we have some assets that we can play with, but overall we need to have a collective brand. And, and that needs to be, not just the chamber, but, what is the mayor's team and their office saying, and what is the county exec team, and what is Visit Erie, and what are, overall a shared brand. One of the great things that I had the kind of privilege to witness while I was in Pittsburgh at the Allegheny Conference is watching the collective brand building of the Pittsburgh region happen. One of the catalytic events that really started to change the brand of Pittsburgh was in 2009 when Pittsburgh hosted the G20. And watching the Allegheny Conference and all these other organizations get together and develop a very strategic point, which is there was Renaissance 1 in Pittsburgh, there was Renaissance 2, and we're currently in Renaissance 3. Mm-hmm. And what that meant was all the things that we talk about, eds and meds, life after being only the manufacturing hub. Now you have advanced manufacturing in 4 or 5 other equal sectors that are growing and so forth. You have world-class research and all of that. Similar thing that we have to do in Erie, which is we're not running away from manufacturing.
Right.
We still make a ton of stuff, and we want to make more. But that selling that balanced economy, selling our lake life. I mean, if you want quality of life, explaining to somebody outside of the region that within a 20-minute drive, I can take you to a winery, I can take you to a beachfront, I can take you to a world-class corporate office, I can take you to world-class dining, I can take you to a world-class concert in a 20-minute drive.
Yeah. And I always I'm always astounded by those same people that live in Wexford and live in Cranberry Township will spend thousands of dollars to take a long weekend here. Where do they go? Erie, because they can hit the beach and hit the nightlife here and have a really, really good time. So it's interesting how that all works out. You mentioned about this the narrative, the Erie brand and the personal narrative. How much of the Chamber's role is it to inculcate that positivity within the market? Like, I mean, is that your role too? I mean, is it all about civic pride?
100%. It's kind of as I've been onboarding to this role, I think I've gotten a question like, where does the Chamber fit in changing landscape and all of this? And at the end of the day, the Chamber's got to be the champion of your region, the convener of business, and a driver of investment. In addition, supporting our members. That's literally that's our mandate, right?
Yeah.
Champion in this region is a key part of that. And one of the things about a chamber is it doesn't mean that we ignore our problems. We're working to solve those problems, right? Whether it be a decade ago, folks really were realizing that access to the waterfront was a pretty big deal, especially with all the assets and investments that are going on there. Yeah. Supporting that infrastructure build out, right, is a key part of what any chamber does. But we still have to talk about the great things that are happening here while we also balance with the needs, right? And I think sometimes in the economic development world, we get so focused on the needs. What's next? We should make sure we're taking a minute to tell a story about what's positively happening and successful here right now. One of the things that we're trying to do at the Chamber is also make sure that we're supporting our local businesses that are doing great stuff here, our local organizations doing great stuff here right now. Last month, we celebrated our Spirit of Erie at the Bayfront Convention Center, where that was the mission of the night, which was wasn't about the Chamber. Everybody's like, why are you putting on this event? Is it about what is It was about those organizations and about those leaders and about them investing and pouring into Erie, because we want more people to do it. So we need to celebrate folks when they do it, right?
Yeah.
We need to celebrate folks when they risk their capital. We need to celebrate folks when they are not only a business leader and a civic leader, but they're giving back of their time and their resources in other ways as well. And overall, celebrating them in a world-class way.
100%. I know that Tim DeCastro won the Spirit of Erie Award, well-deserved, and that kind of leads me to the Criz, which again he's been a huge advocate of, and what again from your business representing Erie business standpoint, is that really the game changer that it seems like it's going to be?
Yes. Let me. So I spent, prior to my time here, I spent 7 years leading the Commercial Real Estate Association in Pittsburgh, NAIOP. And one of the things that I learned in that, in addition to my time at the Alien Conference, was just how hard it was to get deals to pencil. Everybody thinks development is you have some fat cats and they have money and then they unload it and they build something, they make a lot of money, and it's like, no. First of all, fat cats are fat cats because they're not trying to risk all of their money on one project or two projects or three. they're strategically investing in projects limitedly.
Yeah.
So therefore, they need other funding sources to get those projects, off the ground.
Building the capital stack.
Yes. So in cities like Chicago and New York, where you have tons and tons of private capital available, there's less need for public sources. There's less need for these kind of CRIZ type sources, even though you get plenty of those and tax abatement programs and everything. You get plenty of those in those cities. But at the end of the day, the numbers are easier in those cities because there's that many more people willing to rent, that many more people willing to rent office space or apartments. A city like Erie, the math to make those deals pencil is a little bit harder. And what the CRIZ does is it basically makes the math easier, and it makes deals that would have taken 5 years, 6 years to get the necessary capital
Really?
together, or even if the timeline wouldn't have been pushed, the project scale would have been smaller.
Right.
Deals that would have basically taken longer, or they would have been phased, right? Phase 1 will do this, phase 2 will do, and so forth. Now they're able to get built now.
Wow.
Right. And what I'm very excited about what Brian and his board are doing with the CRIZ and how forward-leaning they're thinking. I'm very excited about the first projects out of the gate. But more, I'm so excited about the projects that are coming to fruition from thoughts right now, seeing that there will be some funding there for somebody to risk their capital, but knowing that they've got, they have some capital available that they can tap into.
That's remarkable when you think that how many, honestly, decades we went where there was no capital, there were no cranes. I mean, we just kind of went through this kind of dormancy, and the only impact we were getting was actual government funding, states, the state building this or building that, or the hospital built something, and now you're seeing it kind of widespread.
And the beauty of the CRIZ is that it's going to attract private capital, right? It's obviously, we know it's state revenues coming back, but importantly, it's basically taking projects and developers that probably either would have had the phaser project, scale it back, or delay, and they're making it possible now, right? And we've got 30 years of that. And think about the amount of capital that's going to unleash. I know the $700 million from the CRIZ has been thrown out, but think about how much matching funds are coming from the private sector, and then the economic spinoffs that's going to happen from that. And that's, within the city, but also I also have a lot of, I think there's lots of opportunity outside of the city as well.
Are you liking what you see in Mill Creek? Are you liking what you see in Harbor Creek and so on? And how about down south even?
Yeah, I mean,
Corey seems to be kind of bubbling with some ideas and things.
I'm liking some of what I'm seeing for sure. I think we talked about housing earlier. I was just at a ribbon cutting for a housing project out the hammocks at Fairview about 2 weeks ago or so, and very excited to see luxury housing going in. But one of the things I am worried about is we need more.
Yeah.
And we need our, or particularly our townships where the deals can pencil.
Where they're actually going to be able to make a profit pretty quickly.
Yeah. We need them to be building as much housing as they can and not worrying about things like school construction and those are the positive. Those might be negative effects from positive outcomes.
Right.
Well, if we need to build more schools, that's the problem I would love to have as a region. I will gladly work with any superintendent or school board in the region to help solve that issue.
Exactly right.
But in general, the more housing we can get within those regions, the better, because that helps with our stickiness. We have world-class talent going through Gannon, through Barron, through Penn West Edinburgh, through Mercyhurst University, through our community college. We have world-class talent going through them. And if that person can, one, land that first job, and then two, find housing here in the Erie region, they're much more likely to stay. But they need housing. Their housing has to be available.
We have to leave it there. We could keep going another hour. Brandon Mendoza, the CEO of the Erie Regional Chamber. Again, if people want to find out more about the chamber, what's the website?
It's www.eriepa.com.
eriepa.com. Easy peasy. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate
Thanks, Joe.
it, man.
Appreciate you.
You got it. It is 5 in front of 5.